It was a picture of the two most important people in his life, Kushina and Mito, with him holding Natsum on his shoulders, and Kushina kneeling beside them with a smile on her face with her cheek on his own. He saw Mito's victory sign of what she said that day, on top of the world, with a peace sign. Smiling sadly, he remembered his problem and placed the picture back into his pocket.
Sorry, Ka-chan, Mito-chan, looks like I won't be able to see you two again. With tears falling from his eyes, he steeled his 7-year-old resolve and turned toward the cliff, ignoring the shout of the Anbu for him to stop. He ran as fast as he could, and with a strike of lightning he jumped off the cliff and fell into the raging river below.
The Root all rushed at the cliff only to curse seeing their objective commit suicide. The four shushin back to Konoha to relay their failure on the capture of Naruto to their master, who won't be pleased.
With Naruto, the monkey-tailed boy was trying to swim up from the river to get air, but he just kept getting pulled back down by the currents, and without seeing it, his head hit a rock, making his eyes go blurry and him succumbing to unconsciousness. Sarutobi clan house. As Hiruzen was finishing up on his last batch of paperwork on political issues with Kumo, and Kushina was planning for her children's next training plan, they heard a loud bang and rushed off to see what the commotion was. Imagine their surprise to see a panting Mito with Naruto's pack and bow staff. Seeing the staff, Hiruzen and Kushina got worried, and even worse when they saw the red-headed child crying. Rushing to her child, Kushina tried to calm her down, only to freeze from a few jumbled words Natsumi kept mumbling as she cried into her Ka-san's chest. She heard a few things ranging from stupid Baka villagers and hurting Ni-san, but the most fearful one was, I can't find him. I can't find Naru-ni-san. Getting a gasp from both Hiruzen and Kushina, a look of fury formed into his eyes, and the old man suddenly leapt out the window and yelled, Anbu, I want 5 search teams to look for Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Look all over Hino-kuni borders. I want him found, hurry. He said, getting nods from them all, since Hiruzen saw Naruto as a grandson as Mito was seen as a granddaughter. So to hear one of his surrogate family members was missing had him angry and infuriated with those that tried to attack him one more. He swore when he got a hold of the idiot villagers that attacked his grandson in all but blood, he would make them wish that the god of death had devoured their souls. Kushina though was trembling as his shaky hands were over her face while her eyes were wide in horror. Her only son, the one that at times reminded her of Minato so much, and was what brought joy to her and Mito, was missing. First Minato. Now Naruto. She grabbed Mito and pulled her into a hug, trying to hold back her tears. She felt Mito stiffen before wailing into her shoulder. She felt horrible now. All she had focused on was their training, and now not watching out for her children, one of them disappeared off Kami knows where. She finally let the tears fall and joined Mito as they cried for their lost family. It made it all the worse for Mito, since being almost a newborn at the same time as Naruto, she had a sort of link to him, whether it was spiritual or physical. She knew of when he was in trouble. And right then, as she cried in her Ka-san's arms, she felt a disturbance within her when her heart ached for her Ni-san. That's when she finally got to the worst conclusion her 7-year-old mind could comprehend.
I have felt it. Nui-san is gone? He's gone. He's gone. She yelled, shocking the sobbing Kushina even more before she finally broke down with her museum. They stayed there in each other's arms, crying for their supposed dead Sochi Nui-san. Naruto's mindscape. Groaning, Naruto was rubbing his head in phantom pain while trying to open his eyes. When he did so, all he saw is a blue sky and the glowing sun. Leaning up a bit, he looked around himself to see grassy fields and mountains as far as the eye, and of the shinobi eye could see. He looked around and saw a 3-story house from what looked like it, and another small cabin beside it. Somehow he felt like he knew this place, but didn't know from where.
Hey there. The cheerful voice made the Namikaze jump back in surprise and turned around quickly, only to see something quite shocking. Before him was two figures. The first one got his attention immediately. It was a giant dragon, on epic proportions. Its body was in the sky itself, appearing in and out of the sky. The whole length of the body was full of green scales and spikes running down its back. Looking at its face, he saw two giant glowing red eyes staring into his own with what seemed curiosity. After staring at the dragon before him in shock, he turned his gaze at the second person standing beside the dragon. And strangely, the person was a man. His hair was a bit spikier in other directions, while his skin was a dark tan, showing the man was outside quite a lot. He also noticed the muscles on him and realized that he trained extremely. That's when, shockingly enough, he saw the monkey tail twitching behind the kid. Seeing the guy wearing a blue GI t-shirt and white belt with sand yellow martial arts pants and Japanese-type martial arts shoes, Naruto was seeing the striking similarities he had with this guy minus the hairstyle, and for some reason felt an odd yet similar connection with this man. Like he has known him his entire life. Shenron, sensing Naruto's confusion, spoke up. "Boy, we have something to talk about." He got a strained nod from the 7-year-old Naruto and an amused chuckle from the tanned man. With that, Shenron introduced himself as the Dragon of the Dragon Balls and Watcher of the Universe, telling Naruto the true story of how old the Earth truly was, explaining of the humans that lived years and years before the Shinobi era started. He also told him of what the Dragon Balls were, what they were created for, and their true purpose. Despite being only 7 years old, he completely agreed with the celestial being. Humans were simple beings, but had to say they had the bright side as well to enjoy their lives to the fullest. It's true, humans are beings capable of both evil and good, but without the other there would be no balance, just like yin and yang. So I say taking the Dragon Balls away from them was the first step to the true evolutionary chain for them. He said, getting a small smile from the man beside the dragon and a grin from Shenron. You're very intelligent for someone your age, and yes, I agree with you. That is why there needs to be a protector to keep this balance from going out of control. Now there is something else I have called you here for. You're probably wondering where we are, and it's simple. This is your mindscape, your inner world, and this person beside me is basically your. Though the dragon never got to finish when the dark-skinned man jumped from where he was and flashed in front of Naruto, shocking him with his speed, and held out his hand. "Hiya, my name's Son Goku and it's finally nice to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki." He finished with a big grin and hand held out. Blinking a few times, Naruto smirks before grasping the older man's hand with his own. "Nice to meet you, Goku." So Shenron-sama care to explain what's going on. He said, only to get a bonk on the head from Goku, making Naruto blink, rubbing his head before looking at the grinning Saiyan. "Nah, I'll start explaining this time, because if he did it would take hours or even days, since the old dragon would just explain every little detail," Goku remarked, earning a growl from said dragon. "Now Naruto, I'll cut to the chase. You know my name, but I may look like I'm in my prime to you, but in reality I'm older than the new gods, as they call themselves," he said, and then scratching the back of his sheepishly while Naruto just stood there gaping. To think that before him was a man who could be the same age as Kakashi but was in reality an older being than Kami and the other gods. He tried his best to not faint and just dumbly nodded, seeing he still had his attention. Goku continued. "Now you are mostly wondering why we look so alike. Well, to put it bluntly, you're my reincarnation. Ever since Mr. Big and Green here saw the Saiyan blood that had condensed over the years finally erupt in you, transforming you into a full Saiyan like myself," he said, getting a confused look from Naruto.
Seeing this, Goku sighed and placed his hand on Naruto's forehead. "I don't feel like explaining to you about Saiyan, so I'll transplant it into your mind, the knowledge of what they were." Before Naruto could retort, a glowing aura came from Goku and flowed into Naruto, making his own form glow the same.
That's when a sudden rush of information rammed into his mind, and everything about the Saiyans was practically programmed in his mind. Everything, even about the truffles and the war between them and the Saiyans, the legend of the Super Saiyan, and finally how the race was all but killed by an alien called Frieza. He grit his teeth in anger as he saw people like him murdered, but smiled softly since they died fighting at least. That's when he closed his eyes and thought, now I know where I got my love of fighting and competition from. I see you understand what the Saiyans were. They were once a powerful race, the strongest in the universe, but they were all killed including my own blood father Bardock by that madman Frieza. Good thing Trunks finished him off. Which made Naruto calm down a bit. Looking up at the boy in front of him, he reminisced of what he heard and had to smile. I always knew I was different, I just didn't know how much, but now that I know the truth, it's finally good to meet a fellow Saiyan, which in turn got grin from Goku. Yeah, but we have things to discuss, you see Naruto, since we are to be reunited we have to become one, but in order to do this you must reach the requirements both mentally and physically, and since you're currently at such a young age we still have a few years for that to happen. He explained, which confused Naruto. Then what do we do then? I don't think I should just wait around doing nothing. Naruto stated and got a nod from Goku. That's right, and since you're out of Konoha we can take this opportunity to fix this little problem, and that is with an old teaching method one of my mentors taught me. Goku said with a fond smile. Raising an eyebrow, Naruto got curious. Oh, and what would that be? That made Goku turn happy all of a sudden.
It will be you traveling all across the elemental countries, honing your skills as I did, and Shenron and I here will teach you how to use your abilities correctly, and how different they are from what humans nowadays call chakra. During this I will be teaching you of what I learned at your age. That includes every style I've learned and seen, and the ways to control your energy, or ki, as it was called by the users of this energy. First off will be what Master Roshi taught me, and that is called the Turtle Hermit. Way of training and martial arts. Naruto's ears perked up at the word martial arts, and Goku saw his reaction and smiled.
Martial arts is a way of fighting in close combat, or as the shinobi call it taijutsu, but martial arts is more of a basic way of fighting than what the shinobi do. Now first off, before we do this, Shenron here is gonna have to fully awaken your Saiyan blood since only half of it has been awoken, and let me tell ya it's gonna hurt, a lot. He warned the young Saiyan. I don't care, as long as I can get stronger to fight stronger opponents and protect those important to me, I'll go through anything done to me. Naruto said with his eyes filled with the same determination Goku had when he is a child. Smiling at his longtime descendant, he pat his shoulder. Good, because I have a feeling trouble is gonna blow its way toward you and you have to be ready for it. Now Shenron, do it, he said while Naruto nodded with him showing he was ready.
Seeing this, Shenron's eyes glowed red, and before Naruto knew it he was on the ground as blue lightning covered his body as a blue aura came off him in waves. Seeing this, Goku was a bit surprised. Whoa, he's got more ki, fighting power or latent energy than I did at his age, and even then I didn't find out about it till later on. But it would seem he was already unintentionally trying to control his power for a while now.
But Goku's face then started to sport a large grin. He'll be the perfect apprentice. Though Goku was cut short of his musings and his eyes widened when he saw Naruto's form start to glow a gold color. Before he and Shenron knew it, they had to close their eyes from the sudden light erupting within the mindscape, but that didn't stop the sudden skyrocket of Naruto's power rising in the elemental countries, alerting many, and even the ground itself was trembling from the raw power he was emitting. In Konoha, the two crying Uzumakis suddenly, along with the tired yet furious Sandaime, felt the strange yet foreign energy along with the tremble that shook the very foundations of Konoha itself. But Kushina and Mito felt the power and knew immediately that is felt closely related to Naruto, but it was much stronger, yet
far more primal.
Naru-ni-kun, I sense him. Ka-chan, I sense him. He's out there somewhere. Naru-ni-kun is out there, Mito said happily, while Kushina was sporting a full-blown megawatt grin on her face. Her son was alive, and was out there somewhere, but the energy she felt, it was definitely that of what Naruto's felt like, but it was much more potent and primal, and it honestly sent chills down her spine for some reason. She wondered when she would see Naruto again, as did the cheerful Mito. With Goku and Shenron, the two stood in shock at what they were seeing. Before them was a changed Naruto. They honestly didn't know how much Naruto would change when he had his other half of his Saiyan blood awakened, but now seeing the results they couldn't but agree it was a good thing. For in front of them stood Naruto, who stood from his normal height of 3 feet 6 to a 4 feet 0. His hair was just like Goku's in every way except for it being spikier. His face was the same, but his eyes held a primal urge to fight a good fight and find strong opponents. His muscles were now much more seen since his sudden growth spurt changed his body slightly. His latest attire from the shinobi all black he wore was all but in torn rags from the sudden transformation, and Naruto's monkey tail waved wildly behind him. Goku was more focused on Naruto's energy signature, and it was off the charts. Even in his age, he was nowhere near this kind of level, yet the feeling Naruto's aura gave off was a very primal, a feeling only Saiyans would have, since he gained the same feeling as he did when he encountered Vegeta, but his rival had the feeling in spades since it was the Saiyan pride and thirst for battle. He would need to change that in Naruto, as he didn't want to deal with a second Vegeta. Oh, the chaos that would happen if it did.
Looking into his new apprentice's eyes, he smiled, patting him on the shoulder. "Well, I guess we have a lot of work to do, huh?" he asked, getting a small grin from Naruto.
"That we do, Goku-sensei. That we do." But that's when Naruto's eyes widened comically, making Goku wonder what was wrong until he realized that he was fearful of his mother and sister, who have been known to have short tempers and violent streaks. "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Kushina-chan and Mito-chan are gonna kill me when I don't come back. Oh Kami, the horror," he said in a fearful tone, which Goku suddenly sympathized with him, as he still felt the phantom pains of Chi-Chi's frying pan attacks. Ouch. "I feel your pain, Naruto, as my wife was the same. But don't fret, we can send a telepathical link to them of what you're doing, then we must really get started on your training." Nodding in acceptance, he followed Goku's instructions and placed his hand on Goku's head, while the old Saiyan reached out with his senses until he found the two still in the Sarutobi clan home, alerting Naruto of this, and the newly reborn Saiyan began to speak within mentally.
"Hello? Is this thing on? Hello?" Kushina and Mito's ears perked up at the sound they were hearing, and looked around only to see no one.
"Kushina-ka-chan. Mito-chan, can you both hear me?" Knowing the voice, the two redheads' eyes bugged out and jumped up in fright as they heard Naruto's voice, looking around frantically. "Ah, ghost. Naruto ni Sochi-kun's spirit is talking to us." They both shouted, trying to not hear the voice. Naruto and Goku both gained huge sweat drops on the back of their heads and chuckled, before Naruto spoke once more. Kushina-ka-chan. Mito-chan, it's me. Naruto." Their eyes widened even further and looked up only to see no one. Getting frustrated, they both yelled, "If you're really your Naruto ni Sochi-kun there, where the hell are you?" They both yelled in unison. Naruto suddenly gulped nervously while Goku saying a silent prayer to his descendant for a good future, and to help him avoid the wrath of two female redheads. "Well, I'm not totally sure myself, but I wanna tell you two something. This latest attack on my person has opened my eyes. Not only am I not safe in Konoha at the moment, I'm also risking both of your safety with the shinobi and civilian alike trying to kill me." They wanted to protest, but then he spoke up once again. "Now I know what you're thinking, Mito-chan, and stop right now. I know they think I'm some monster, and I'm fine with that. Let them think what they want to. They'll just regret it later on. Besides, I don't like to see you cry, or you either, Kushina-ka-chan." Too bad Naruto didn't see the blushes upon both the females' faces as he said his words, but Goku did, and since he's lived for so long he finally understands a little bit more of the females and had to grin. Naruto had a way with words with women.
Kushina and Mito just sat there rethinking what Naruto just said and kept playing it over and over in their minds as heat rushed to both of their faces.
Why does Sochi-kun's voice sound deeper, and the way he said those things? And when did I starting calling him Sochi-kun? What happened to just plain Sochi? A flustered Kushina was wondering as her hands were on her face, trying to hide her growing blush. "He's mine, son, for Kami's sake, and I shouldn't be thinking about such things about the one you brought into this world."
Mito, on the other hand, was more open. Her Anui-san was acting much differently than before. But the way he spoke made that strange feeling in her grow much more, and suddenly found a strange heat coming upon her face. That's when she heard Kyubi speak.
Damn, Naru-kun sure knows how to speak with a lady. He's got you and Kushina-chan blushing, hell, even myself. Kyubi muttered the last part to herself only.
Kyu-chan, when did you start calling Nui-san Naru-kun? The redhead asked mentally with a cute yet confused expression on her face. But Kyubi just blushed, trying to hide her embarrassment.
I'll tell you later, Kyubi said quickly before cutting off mental connection, leaving behind a confused Mito.
That's when they both realized his final words, and their eyes grew as wide as dinner plate.
Sochi-kun, don't tell me you're fearing the worst, Naruto not coming back to protect Natsumi and herself from Konoha's villagers. Hearing this, Naruto sighed, but spoke honestly. Yes, that was my first option of not returning, but I've been persuaded to do something different. I'm gonna travel the elemental countries and try to hone my skills and get stronger. That way when I come back I'll be able to protect not only myself, but my family as well. Until then we won't hear from each other for a long time. He answered solemnly. Hearing this, the 2-3 counting Kyubi felt their hearts wrench, and asking the question on their minds, Kushina asked, how long will you be gone? She asked, dreading the answer. There was a long pause, making them feel uneasy. Well, it would be around the time Mito-chan graduates from the academy to when our generation of Chunin exams begin. I'm not totally sure, but don't worry, I'll be fine. I just want you two to be safe and Mito-chan to train as well to get stronger before we meet again. And you, Kushina-ka-chan, I want you to start training once more. I'd like to fight the woman that made Iwa, Kumo, and Kiri piss themselves in fear whenever you draw your sword, he said nervously, getting shocked looks from the two while Kyubi was surprised as well.
You'll be gone for years, Sochi-kun. But if that is truly your decision, she said sadly. It is, Kushina-ka-chan. I realize I'm not normal like the others, the monkey tail proves this. So I'd like to fully understand just what I am. But could you tell Sarujiji Makoto-san? Suma-san? Sukina-chan? Fem-san? Sukina-chan? Fem. Can you do this for me?
Wiping the tears from her face, she smiled. Of course, Sochi-kun, just hurry up with your training and come back to us, she said, getting a chuckle from him. Hey, you got it, Kushina-ka-chan. Naruto-ni-kun, said the silent voice of Mito, which Naruto noted was too silent from Mito. Worried, he answered her, yes, Mito-chan, is something wrong? Biting her lower lip, she started to shake before speaking. Please come back home quickly. I understand you need to train like I do, but I'll miss you. Ka-chan will miss you, she said as tears started to form in her blue eyes. Naruto flinched at her words, but steeled his resolve. I know this, and I'll come back as quick as I can. I promise. I mean, I still owe you that day out, don't I? He said amusingly, getting a giggle from her as well as Kushina. The day outs, as they are called, was practically Mito dragging Naruto everywhere with her despite whatever it may be. She called it bonding with Oni-san, but he mentally calls it torture. A few seconds of comfortable silence reigned in before Naruto spoke once more. I gotta go, guys. Not sure if I have Gigi's Anbu on my tail or what, but I gotta get going, okay? Bye. Snapping their heads to his voice, they spoke in unison, not knowing how long it would be before they saw Naruto again. Goodbye, Naruto-kun. Be safe, they said in unison.
With mental connection went out, and Goku was smiling at the grinning Naruto. You have a wonderful family, Naruto. Reminds me of my own a bit. Though I suspect you are going to get something very surprising when you meet them again. I just know it, Goku said with grin of his own. Naruto, shaking his head at his master, stood at attention, and spoke.
When should we begin, Goku-sensei, Shenron-sensei? he asked. The two beings blinked and looked at each and blinked twice before grinning.
Turning his head back to Naruto, he spoke. We will begin by first getting you some new clothes, and seeing as you have no money, you're going to be doing some odd jobs that includes farming, construction, and delivering milk, while using an old training method Master Roshi used on me and my best friend Krillin. Goku said, remembering the times he did the training. That's when a giant green turtle shell with two straps on appeared in his hand, and started handing it to Naruto. Expecting it to weigh a bit, Naruto grabbed hold of the shell only a second later, hitting the ground with a loud thud.
Kami, how much does this thing weigh? Naruto muttered and never saw the dark gleam in Goku's eyes. That Naruto will be your personal training. Wait until I'm satisfied with the results. Now get out of here and get to training, he said, personally kicking Naruto out of his own mindscape. When he was gone, he heard Shenron chuckling. Raising an eyebrow in curiosity, he asked, Shenron, what's so funny? He asked the old dragon and saw the smirk of the dragon.
Ha ha ha. Nothing, just that turtle shell weighs 10x more than what you had to begin with at your start of training.
Blinking, Goku chuckled, seeing where this was heading to. Ah yeah, about that. Well, I just have a feeling that was the beginning of where he would need to start at, he asked, getting a deadpan look from the dragon. You call 20 tons a beginning? He asked in a monotone-like voice, which Goku just nodded at. Shaking his head, the dragon laid its head down, thinking about his and Goku's new student and how his training should be planned out for the next few years.
Naruto, the legendary Saiyan. Chapter 2, The Golden Warrior. 5 years later. Unknown Island. A black blur was currently zipping around, causing several rock textures to explode on contact and be reduced to rubble as the blur made contact with them and vanished from plain sight. Several more erupted on contact with either a punch or kick before once again they were nothing more than a pile of pebbles. The blur appeared in the air before landing on the ground with a crouch, revealing a spiky black-haired teenager who appeared to be 11-12 years old. He seemed to be wearing a black fighter G with a red sash holding it together. Picture the outfit Gohan wore during the Cell games, along with a pair of black martial arts shoes, similar to the ones Godetta wears.
He then stood straight up, revealing the face of none other than Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. For the past 4 years he has spent all of his time training under his masters Goku and Shenron, and has changed a lot during his travels. He spent the first year training his physical strength and speed using the turtle shell Goku had him wear for basically every form of physical training he had him do, such as climbing mountains with weights on his arms and legs or with one arm tied behind his back. He also did the same when it came to something like swimming, in order to not just increase his strength but his speed as well. During his travels he learned how to perform a lot of labor jobs such as carpenting, farming, and construction work, and would usually travel to small villages and assist them. Naruto also went through survival training where he had to learn about the various plants that he could use for healing, as well as ones that could be eaten and are poisonous, as well as use the landscape to build shelters like a homemade teepee or a small cabin. Training in the wild did give him a more perspective for nature and wildlife, and sleeping out at night and eating food you catch yourself shows you're capable of surviving alone in the forest.
It also helped train his senses and raised his awareness around him in case missing nin or bandits attempted to attack him. It also helped train Not only that, but he also learned some intermediate fuinjutsu from a monk that live in the mountain range of Yama. No kuni, and needless to say the young Saiyan was a natural, and was able to understand the basics of modern sealing complexes that most beginner couldn't understand and would take a few years to learn. So far, he knew how to use seals and scrolls to store supplies, money, clothes, tools, etc.
The second year Goku got Naruto started in learning how to control his ki, or kai, which was in a manner the same as chakra since it was naturally the life force, which is a tangible energy that lives inside a living being and its major focus being in the center of the body. By drawing it out, a person is able to manipulate it and use it for performances outside the body as well as increase their speed, strength, endurance, and can increase the power of their attacks to inflict greater damage to opponents.